Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Then we had a double bell that time, huh? Usually don't we get a single bell when it rings?
It's for the big guest.
For the big guest today. Number 35 here on the Last Round. I'm Danny Z along my co-host Mike Shepard. I got a pretty big heavyweight week of fights this week, right? Especially with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz this Saturday, which is probably the biggest fight of the weekend in terms of publicity.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely
Right?
the biggest fight this week.
So I'm excited for that. You know, I think Ruiz has a point to prove, especially taking over for Jarrell Big Baby Miller, who didn't test positive once, but 3 times. You know, how does that happen? But whatever. But before we get into the reviews and previews, like you mentioned, Mike, we have a special guest in the building once again, in the studio this time. Professional boxing referee for the California State Athletic Commission, Mr. Ray Corona. Thank you for stopping by, Ray.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So like we said, we appreciate you coming in. How long have you been a ref in the game now, professionally?
Since 1998.
1998. And what made you want to just jump into it? Like, just say, you know what? I watched the sport a lot. You know what? Let me just get into this.
I couldn't box.
You couldn't box. That's a pretty good reason.
At least that's what Ben Lira said.
That's a pretty good reason.
That's why we do the podcast, Ray.
There you go.
The weekend box.
There you go.
So that was in 98. So how long did it take you from like when you first knew that you wanted to get into it until you actually reffed your first fight?
I'm thinking like 6 years. About
6 years, really?
Yeah.
So did you take courses before that or training? Or did you like reach out to people like, hey, this is what I want to do? Like,
yeah, I tried the amateurs and then I finally just I asked Ben Lira. Hey, can you call Marty Dink? And he knew a lot of the professional referees, and so he hooked me up with Marty Dinkin, and as that went on, I went to all the training classes, and it took like maybe 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
It's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick from the amateurs to the pros. So did you have any, when you turned pro, did you have any mentors, any people that influenced you, took you under the wing?
Yeah, Marty Dinkin, Rosales, and now it's pretty much all of us help each other. Jack Reese is really a big mentor to me.
Shout out to Jack Reese, the realtor.
Yeah,
he's always every time online, he's always pushing out his real estate stuff. He's
before
just
he
like,
starts.
check out my houses right here, Ventura County. Like,
it amazed me, his accent, his New York accent.
He does.
I was teasing him about his New York accent.
But it's interesting though. Yeah, Jack Reese is a good guy, and then Mike became a big fan of him after the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just
because of that call at the end, man.
Yeah,
especially.
Just so much respect, as a referee, to give him the chance in such a big fight to get back in, give him the, everyone says it's a long count, putting the stopwatch next to it, but as you know, as a referee, it's a 10 count by the referee. It's not a 10 count by a stopwatch.
That's right. And he's, when you're a referee and you're in you see things even ringside people don't see. You see their eyes, their body language, their posture, and Jack is the best. Jack is the best, So yeah, that was a great call,
Did you ever get a chance to talk to him after that fight, like about that call? Like, hey, what'd you think? Because like he said, yeah, like it's not like you guys are robots. I think it's a 10 count of an actual human being, the referee.
Yeah.
So I mean, there were some people, especially because it was a high profile fight. I mean, when you work a high profile fight that's bigger than a smaller undercard fight, it's going to get more eyeballs on it, so you're going to get a lot more critics.
Well, like Jack says, Pat Russell says, when it's a title fight like that, you're going to take him out to deep water. You just don't want to let him drown,
Right.
So, I mean, when he fell in the 12th round, 11th round?
It was the 12th, yeah.
When he fell, the way Tyson fell like that, I mean, a lot of us might have even called the fight.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Jack was looking right over him, and it turned out awesome, Turned out awesome that he let him get up.
Is there something that you'll say to the fighters? You know, you go into the dressing rooms beforehand and you give them, you know, like a little talk of what you expect in the ring and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Could you give us an example of something you'd say?
Well, something like that in a title fight, all fights from a 4-rounder to a 12-rounder, you treat them all the same. But I always ask them, hey, are you in shape? You know, and a lot of times you know the trainer, what the trainer's about. And you tell them, you know what, you're going to get hit. So with that said, I'll take you out to deep water, but I'm not going to let you drown. And that's where you got to study the fighter in the ring and see that, hey, he's okay. You know, he can go a little farther. And like Jack says, there's a 10% too late and 10% too early to stop a fight. Mm-hmm. You don't want to steal from the fans, but the main concern is safety of the fighter, you know. Mm-hmm. But in those high-profile fights, like the heavyweight title, you know what I mean? He did a perfect call. Mm-hmm. I mean, it made the fight, you know, because he got up, Tyson got up and finished the 12th round, you know. Yeah,
I think if he would have stopped the fight, if he would have called it for Wilder, like to get the W, I think he was going to get criticism regardless.
Yeah,
but the criticism would have been triple if he would have stopped that fight, especially from English fans or Tyson Fury fans.
Especially the way he fell, the way he spread out like a cross. It almost looked like he was totally out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he'd have called it then, even me, I'd have been kind of like, oh, he's out.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't, and then he got back up and it looked like Tyson, he rocked him.
Yes.
And then kind of actually took over the round and could have won it.
Yes.
You know, so just experience. And like you say, like maybe because it's such a huge fight, you give them that little chance, a little bit more than maybe you would because it's such a huge...
It's just like the Tony Weeks fight with back in the day with Corrales and...
Diego Corrales and...
Castillo.
Oh my God! Tony Weeks, great friend of mine, man. He when Diego Corrales went down on the second time, he could have called it right there.
Yeah.
In the same round, he went down, but yet he's seen something that not even the people ringside seen it. And look at how the fight turned out. Awesome fight.
One of the best rounds of all time.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't have had that.
7th, 8th round. Oh no, it was the 10th round, right?
I think it was a double-digit round. I remember. Yes. I don't know if it was 10 or 11, but I think it was.
Great fight, man. That was so action-packed, Tony Weeks is another great referee, man.
Those fights in those span of those couple of years, man, were just insane.
Yes.
But, we're talking about, of course, all these calls from other referees who were, in charge of those bouts. What's one that sticks out in your mind in terms of maybe like a Tyson Fury or something, like even if it wasn't high profile, but it just sticks out in your mind, like something where like I had to make that decision and it could have went either way, like or something like that.
Well, I mean there's a lot of them. I mean, but again, the Tony Weeks fight with Corrales and Castillo, that just the fight in itself made history. The fight will always go down as just an action-packed fight. But the referee, imagine if he would have stopped it.
Right.
Imagine if Tony Weeks would have stopped it. It still would have been a great fight. It was a great fight because prior to that, the 6th round was just, oh my God, it was just, they could have fought it, as they say, in a phone booth. Yeah. They were both doing head, body, but yet Tony Weeks let it go on, gave them both of them the benefit of the doubt. And mind you, Diego Corrales was busted up.
Oh, yeah. He was bad.
Busted up.
He was bad, yeah. Because I kept looking, I was like, the doctor's going to stop
this.
Yes. That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yes. But that was great call. And again, Jack Reese, he did a great job on the heavyweight fight. Again, when you fall out like that, a lot of referees would have jumped the gun and just, hey, it's over. But he obviously seen something that not even ringside seen,
Is it hard sometimes, Ray, the boxing community is kind of small, so obviously I'm sure that some of the fighters outside of the ring, as friends. Is it hard sometimes when you have to referee one of their fights and, they're taking a bit of a bad beating, but like you said, you don't want to finish it too early, you don't want to finish it too late because you have faith in them?
I've been in the Southern California scene since I was 8 years old with Ben Lira, so yeah, I know the fighters, but with that said, safety is the main concern. That, sometimes Ben trains my son. With that said, I want to get a shout out to my son, Adrian Corona, 5-0, but he trains my son. And this is about 4 or 5 years ago. He had a fighter, Ricky Guerrero, I think his last name. And because Ben is so much on you're not going to fight until it's your time to fight, until you're ready, until I know you're ready. I did his fight at the DoubleTree. He got dropped and I think it was a third round. And he was I kept saying he's going to come back, and I was refereeing, mind you. And in I think it was a fifth round, he got dropped again, but he got up and then finally Ben threw in the towel. And my big lesson to myself was I had my heart in it when I should have just stepped back and said, no, I got to keep this fighter safe. Because as a referee, my personal opinion, when the corner throws in the towel before I stop it, maybe I wasn't seeing something, Maybe I wasn't seeing something. And I think because I knew Ben from childhood and I know the way Ben is, hey, you're not fighting until you're in shape. I kept thinking to myself, he's going to come back. So I'm going to give him a chance, but I almost could have got him hurt, So I learned a major lesson on that one.
Do you get any training and, stuff to look for in a fighter, like if the eyes are gone or, the start of like some kind of head trauma, stuff like that?
Yeah. We have training twice a year in California. As far as I know, we're the hardest state. Andy Foster holds us accountable, man. And with that said, we get training from our doctors, how to look at eyes, how maybe sometimes one pupil will be total black, which means there's head trauma. We go through scenarios. Jack gives us, Jack Reese trains everybody. Same with MMA. John McCarthy does the MMA and Jack does boxing. But as far as I know, man, California is the hardest state. State, man.
I didn't know that.
That's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard before that the state of California is arguably like the gold standard in terms of athletic commissions. That there's other states that have tried to mirror what the state of California does. Like they'll come and they'll try to like consult with us and say like, hey, how do you guys do it to try to better their programs? So.
And with that said, guys, there's a saying amongst the referee, you could be doing 100 great fights, but you're only remembered for your last fight.
That's true.
Exactly.
So, even Andy Foster said that, hey, how was your last fight? And he'll sit us down, I've always said that about Andy Foster. You know what? We're not friends. You will be held accountable, So if you're sat down, it's not like you're going to be sat down forever, but you know what? Take a little break and we'll be back in the ring,
And then for our listeners out there who might be unaware, Andy Foster is the executive director of the California State Athletic Commission. So he's
the boss of all bosses.
He's the head cheese. He's the head cheese over here.
Head honcho.
The top dog.
He's the boss of the referees, the supervisors at ringside,
El Jefe.
the athletic inspectors. So he's the guy at the top. So whenever we reference Andy Foster, that's what we're talking about. I wanted to go back that you mentioned, when a fighter's corner throws in the towel. That because you touched on that sometimes like when they throw in the towel that you kind of second guess yourself like why didn't I stop it, like you kind of overanalyze it in a sense, like does that happen every single time to you or is that only in certain instances? Because I wanted to touch on that as soon as you said that.
Off the top of my head, 3 fights where the corner has thrown in the towel, and that's the only one that I felt I should have stopped it. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have waited, and it was Ben. It just happened to be Ben Lira because what it is, my heart was there. My heart was saying, I know Ben has this fighter in shape, but what it is, I should have just stepped back and said no. He's taking too much, and Ben threw in the towel. So I learned a big one. The other 2, off the top of my head, their fighter was, in my opinion, they were B fighting an A-class fighter, and their corner obviously seeing, hey, there's no way he's going to win. And I remember Marty Dinkin used to tell us, rest in peace, Marty Dinkin. Right. If it's a 10-round fight and he's losing 6 of those rounds, mathematically he's got no chance in the world to win. Right. He's either needs a knockout. So why let him take a beating? Mm-hmm. Why let him take a beating? But yeah, it's off the top of my head. It's only that I know of 3 fights where they threw in the towel.
Are you comfortable mentioning what those 3 fights are?
I don't remember the other two.
Oh, you don't?
No.
You
Because
just
the other
remember
two,
that they threw in the towel.
yeah, they threw in the towel. But the other two were just, again, in my opinion, their corner said, hey, he ain't got a chance to win, you know? But he was fighting back, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, that's one thing you guys look for as professionals. Like, look, if they're fighting back, even though they might be losing the fight, but they're swinging, they're trying to fight back, that's one thing you guys take into account before stopping the fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ray, you're a ref, but you're also a judge. Can you?
Yeah, I've done I'm a judge too.
Can you
I
break
do
down
MMA as well?
Oh, you do MMA as well?
Yeah.
Can you break down how you score a round? Because that's one of the big things. When you watch a fight and someone's got it 10 rounds to 2, and then the next one's got it a draw. So for us,
there's a lot of people who when they heard that you were going to come on, and they're like, oh yeah, he's a ref, but he's also a judge.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who asked us like, oh, please have him break down how he looks at a round, because that there's always scrutiny in how people score rounds, especially for close
for
fights.
example, the Terrell Geisha Austin Trout fight. One of the judges had it 9-1, another one had it 5 each, and then the other one had it to Trout.
Yeah,
I didn't. I started seeing that, but me being an old guy, fell asleep. But
we've all been there, though.
How about Vasquez back in the day in the trilogy?
Brian Vasquez?
No, the
Israel
Vasquez with what's the brother that they
Israel
had
Vasquez and
they fought 3 fights.
Oh man,
yeah, I can't think who it is now. You had the trilogy.
Yeah. That messed up Vasquez so much, especially.
Yes,
his eye.
Unfortunately, he lost his eye.
Yeah. But he's a great guy, though.
But you know what fight I'm talking about? The trilogy. I mean, those fights were just going back and forth, back and forth. And as a judge, same thing. When we go through our training, they show videos and they have a score, and then we give our opinion. When they're that close, you want to see ring generalship. Mm-hmm. When you have those little guys going back and forth, well, who's mixing it up? So every judge, there's a somewhat of a criteria from what I understand, from how I get my learning and my teaching. But you want to look for ring generalship. Is somebody just headhunting? And if they're close fights, are you mixing it up from body to head to body?
Mm-hmm. In terms of that, like, because obviously judges like. They have the training, the previous training in order to be able to get to that position and judge a fight. But there's obviously some who prefer, maybe the technical aspect as opposed to the aggression. Or, there's some people like, who, when Mayweather fought, I feel like Mayweather was so good that he accustomed a lot of judges to kind of adapt to his style. Because he was a counterpuncher. He wasn't. The mid 2000s.
He had great
early
footwork.
Yeah. So
he knew when to move. I never seen Mayweather, in my opinion, as a runner. He just knew when to move. Like you said, a counterpuncher. He was always there in the pocket. You know what I mean? That was my opinion on him.
So
it's a great fight. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you look at more like, or it just depends on the moment? Do you look at more like the aggressor, or maybe like the counterpuncher who might be fighting off the back foot, but they're getting more contact in?
I mean, look at Sugar Ray. Sometimes he fight off the back foot,
true.
And still win the fights. It just depends. It just depends on the fight in itself. It doesn't matter who's fighting, but who's got the ring generalship if it's going back and forth.
Do you do homework? So, for example, this weekend you said you're going to be reffing on the Devon Alexander card, and then 3 days before you get given the actual fights that you're going to be.
I personally don't because, again, I remember Jack always says, you know what, treat a 4-rounder like you would treat a 12-rounder, and I'm not gonna just this guy tends to, take a little too many shots, because what if he takes too many shots and heaven forbid he gets hurt, because I assume that he's gonna do what he did in his last fight. So personally, no, I don't.
Do the commissions ever tell you to clamp down on holding, or have certain things that they want you to look at? If it's punching on the brake.
Well, after every show in California, I don't know how they do it in the other states. And every show, Andy Foster will have a meeting with us, and he'll tell it like it is. You know what, I thought that fighter was doing this. I thought that fighter, or you know what, you did a good job, or so. Thank God, so far so good.
in terms of that, I kind of wanted to rewind back to, I know we talked about it at the beginning, but back to before you became a referee. Because, there's people who, especially casual fans who watch fights and they see referees and, after a while they get used to them, like, oh, there's Ray Corona, there's Jack Reese, but a lot of people don't know your guys' backgrounds, your stories. Yeah. And you probably arguably in the whole state of California, in terms of your colleagues, probably have the most interesting story out of everybody, at least from my understanding. Do you want to talk about a little bit about that, like growing up and how you got to where you're at right now?
I got the typical troubled past from childhood, foster homes. My mom was married 7 times. So from foster homes to youth camp, juvenile hall, county camp, youth authority, state prison. It wasn't until my first son was born, Ray Jr., who, thank God, 2 tours in Iraq, infantry, Army, and now he's LAPD,
nice.
12 years, going on 12 years.
Nice.
I have another son in the Army. But anyways, just finally got it right, And, I just said, hey, I got to change my lifestyle, because this is not getting me anywhere. My older brother, just thank God he's doing well. He's been out 2 years, but he did 35 years straight. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for a gang homicide, So, I just grew up in that environment, but, I got a second chance, I work for the Teamsters now, the union, and you guys want to go union, let me know, huh?
I'm in a union.
There you go.
Yeah.
But with that said, just trying to get my life straight, and I became a Christian 11 years ago, going on 12. So, I try to work off my Bible, as they say, I'm not perfect. But yeah, I have a shady past. I'm not no rapist, no child molester. It was just all gang activity, Got me in trouble. But thank God I got a second chance, I don't know if you guys, we talked about it. I had an incident at the Golden Gloves, was it 2016, and lost my license for a year. And, I just thank God. I thank Andy Foster for giving me a second chance, the State Athletic Commission for giving me a second chance, and I'm just trying to straight and narrow,
Right. So yeah, like you touched on that. The suspension was for about a year, right?
Yes.
From that, but they reevaluated. They were able to talk to you. You had
I've known Mr. Foster since he's been in the with the state. What's it going on 7 years now? No.
Right. Something like that. Yeah.
He's a fair man. He's a fair man. I have 7 children, and I look at him as being the dad of all our officials. And unfortunately, he's got the job, not me. But he's got to, he's fair. He's fair with all of us,
So, touching on your past again, like, hypothetically speaking, which we reach a pretty good amount of people on this show.
Yeah.
So there's probably a good amount of people, or even maybe 1 or 2 out there at least, that might be going through the same lifestyle that you used to go through, and probably are listening very closely to what you have been saying so far, especially the last 2 or 3 minutes. In terms of advice, what would you give to those people to try to get out of maybe the situation they're in, especially if it's gang related? I know it's hard. Yeah, but
it's hard, but it's pretty much, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want that lifestyle? Then do it, bro. But don't cry when you're doing life or unfortunately lose your life. Don't and if you don't want it, then you just got to move on. If from coming from the street view, if you're a solid dude, a solid homeboy, or whatever, you can move on. A solid friend, even a fellow gang member is gonna wish you more to do better than to just keep on. And if you don't want that lifestyle, just move on. That's the way I see it.
What advice, Ray, would you give to somebody that's listened to this and thought, what, I really want to become a referee?
Well, my advice on that is I feel there's enough work for all of us. I'm not going to be greedy. There's in my opinion, there's some officials don't want nobody else getting up. That's on them. But my opinion is, get into the amateurs. work in the amateurs. You know, put your work in there, and then come to the pro fights and put your name in the hat. And you gotta put in work. You gotta put in work. It's like anything. You gotta pay your dues. You know.
And you said you did, was it 6 years in the amateurs?
About 6 years. Yeah, about 6 years.
So you definitely put in the time.
Yes.
You definitely put in the time. In terms of, you know, you said you've been a ref since '98.
Yes.
So
minus 1 year.
Minus 1 year.
That's how Jack says. Jack says minus 1 year.
Recent.
Sabbatical.
So sabbatical. So on average, how many fights you ref a year, if you had to throw a ballpark out there?
You know, if we go on BoxRec, I think I got a little over almost 400 fights.
Yeah,
man.
I checked.
And you know,
California,
California has the most shows in the whole world. The whole world.
Oh yeah, you guys are definitely busy.
Yeah, we're busy, man. I mean, again, props to Andy Foster. He really works with our promoters, and I mean, we're just. I'm working every weekend this month. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're blessed, bro. We're blessed.
Are you allowed to go work? Like, can you apply and go work in Vegas? Because I know that we've had, I think one official from the UK has come out to Las Vegas and did a fight.
Well, Jack Reese has been in Europe, I think, too, and stuff. Yeah, you guys were.
Well, you belong to an organization. I belong to the WBC and the NABF. So if you belong to those organizations, you can go. I've been to many places over the world. You know.
So as long as they sanction you to do it, you can go do it.
Andy Foster just asked us to tell him ahead of time,
right?
So he can put somebody in your place, or vice versa. You know,
right.
You're going to be gone for this time. You know.
So how do you get selected for the WBC?
They just like Andy selects us for the fights. Mm-hmm. The organization has their people assigned. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So.
And I'm sure that's news to people that didn't know that. You know, especially because the Athletic Commission. You know, they're not essentially, they're government agencies.
Yes.
They're state of California. So, like, you know, and when you're watching sports and especially boxing and stuff, you know, you don't think like, oh, that's a government regulatory agency, but you guys are.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure a lot of people are surprised in terms of saying like, oh, well, you know, it's not really that the state kind of pushes you to go do fights in Europe or New York. It's the sanctioning bodies in the sport of boxing.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. Yeah, because I remember growing up, and then you would see like all these other referees, and you know the big time referees go to other states, and then even overseas. I'm just like, what the heck?
I mean, a lot of the fights that we have here, the mega fights in California, we have judges from all over the world come. Mm-hmm. I mean, Andy Foster, you know, puts a red carpet out for them. You know.
Yeah.
Is it hard to follow all the different rules from California to Nevada to the New York Commission?
No, there's USA rules, and then they have, you know, WBC and all that. They'll have certain rules too. So you just got to know what if it's a title fight, you got to know what the rules are for that particular title fight. You know what I mean?
So in terms of that, you've done over 400 fights, mostly all in SoCal.
Yeah.
Mostly
in SoCal.
So it's safe to say that you've probably been in every major arena out here in SoCal.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite in terms of like, you know, atmosphere, and when you're there, like, oh, okay, I like working in this one?
Well, I did a Staple Center one time, and Jermaine Taylor.
Oh, wow.
And it just was a packed house, and I just, man, you know, I ain't gonna lie. I stepped back and I looked up, and I just said, wow, God is good, man. I made it, you know?
Yeah. That was the moment you were just like, wow, this is it.
This is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Anything, do you have like a referee's bucket list? You know, you'd like to do, you know, a fight at Madison Square Gardens or...
You know what? After this incident with me, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm just so thankful I got a second chance, and I came back. I'll be honest. Prior to this 1 year suspension, I was like, well, when am I gonna get that fight? You know, why can't I get that fight? I never badmouthed another official, but why can't I get it? Why can't I get it? So when I finally lost my license, mind you, for 2 weeks in that 1 year, I got an email saying that we're probably not going to renew your license. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm talking about depression, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, it brought tears in my eyes, man. I go, you know what? Yeah. I worked hard for this. Why is this happening? You know, I prayed about it. And thank God, Andy Foster wrote me back. He says, hey, stay out of trouble, and we're gonna vote to get your license back. So I'm the perfect definition of you didn't know what you lost till you lost it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now I'm just grateful, and you know what? I'm just grateful, bro. I'm grateful for Andy Foster, for the commission, for giving me a second chance. I mean, the man is fair. That's all I could say. He's fair.
Professional boxing referee Ray Corona is here in studio with the last round. In terms of fighters, you mentioned Jermaine Taylor, and you've been in the ring with some of the most biggest names in the sport of boxing. Who's the nicest person in terms of fighter that you recall? Like, obviously everybody has respectful and stuff like that, but there's just that one fighter you're just like, man, he was a really good guy,
My son, Adrian Cohen.
That's a good one. That's a good answer. I like it.
You know what? There's a lot of. They're all polite, bro. They're all polite. I mean, they're all good people. I respect them. If I could turn the clock back, I wish I could be some of them.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fight sport, but like I told you before, Ben wouldn't let me fight because I couldn't get my weight down.
It was all the weight, huh?
But I sparred thousands of times through the years, but I was a fat boy.
Do you ever get the corners try to influence you in any way?
The who?
The corner,
the corner of the teams.
No. You know what? Believe it or not, I won't cheat for nobody. I'm not going to sell my career for one fight or any fight, And when I go in because I'm in Southern California and we have thousands of fighters out here, I won't. I want all these coaches to know, you know what? We're not friends when I'm doing your fight. We're not. I'm gonna keep your fighter safe and do the same for the other side. I'm not gonna sell my career, for any fight or any fighter. So nobody. Hey Ray, hey, do me a favor. No, I've never had that, and if it did happen, I'd cut it out, bro. I don't go there.
Has there ever been any, of course we talked about the recent 1-year suspension that you just came back from, and you're grateful about that. But in terms of in ring, is there anything that stands out in your mind in terms of a negative aspect? Like, maybe there was a fight or something like that, or like a Mayweather Judah-esque, something like that.
No, so far so good, bro. I haven't had any incidents. I mean, I remember in Burbank 10 years ago, somebody threw a full cup of beer at me because I stopped the fight.
Oh, they were mad that you stopped the fight.
Yeah, they were mad. I stopped the fight, and the cornerman yelled at me, called me a bunch of names. I just whatever,
Yeah.
But the beer was kind of a shocker there,
It's something you'll always remember, isn't it? Remember when, was it Birdman came down on the parachute?
Yes.
Oh, in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But, you're right. There's always moments like that. Beer thrown at you, parachutes and all this stuff. So,
Or the fans, you get some fans out there what are you looking at, or stop them from holding. It's not holding until I say it's holding,
Right.
And this is where I tell the fighters in the dress room, when I say break, you break. And if you don't break, then now it is holding,
Mm-hmm.
You got to let, in my opinion, as a referee, you want to let, like Jack Reese says, there's felonies and there's misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how he trains us. There's felonies and misdemeanors. Do what's right for boxing, as well as keeping them, always keep the fighter safe, but do what's right for boxing. So if the guy hits on the belt line and the fighter says, oh, well, he hit me low. If you know it wasn't low, if it was just on the belt, don't even acknowledge it. You know what I mean? And that's where I go with that.
What do you think about, because, there's been a general conversation, a consistent conversation in terms of comparing MMA to boxing. Not just the sport.
Yeah, Paulie Maliaggi spoke on that the other day.
Oh, yeah, man. Maliaggi is one of the biggest personalities in the sport. So
tells it like it is, I guess.
He does, though. He's actually, as an analyst, when he's doing the Showtime cards, he's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of the best, definitely.
Yeah,
because he speaks his mind. He's not.
Yes.
He doesn't favor the Showtime fighter in any way. He'll just say it like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's already made his reputation as a boxer. He doesn't have to, toe the company line as such.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that. I wish more people were like that.
I'm sorry, though, but what were we saying?
We were, oh man, now I lost it.
Yes, between boxing and MMA.
Oh, and boxing and MMA, that's right. So, in terms of comparing those two sports, because there's always been a consistent conversation or debate, a sense, saying, okay, well, somebody like UFC is just one big conglomerate in terms of, okay, they control the belts, they control all that. But in boxing, it's different sanctioning bodies who control each respective world title. So it makes it a little bit difficult to make the biggest fights. When UFC, like somebody like Dana White, like, oh no, they're fighting in June. Like, oh, okay, just like that, and like unless there's like an injury or something, like
take it or leave it.
Right. You know, what do you think about that comparison? You know, should boxing mirror UFC, or should UFC mirror boxing, or should it just stay the way they are?
In my opinion, it just stay the way it is. You know, stay the way it is. I mean, as far as I know, UFC was sold already. The Machida brothers don't have it anymore, right?
They don't. Yeah, Dana White's still there and has like an executive position,
Yeah.
but I think it's more for like the publicity
Because
he's
Oscar
a face.
even did the Ortiz. He was
forum.
a promoter
Against Chuck Liddell.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna go back into MMA after that. But
Dana White says he's moving to boxing though, and after the summer, he says.
yeah. I seen
for
that
boxing.
too. I mean, the way it is, they're both great sports. I respect both sides. You know, MMA is MMA, and boxing is boxing. You know.
we're assuming that you do more boxing fights than MMA fights,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
you've mentioned that you've done MMA fights. What do you think the biggest difference is in between both, especially when you're in there as the referee?
Well, I mean, you gotta. When I did at Roy Inkelbrick show.
Right.
It was like 2 months ago, I did an MMA fight, but prior to that, I did a boxing. So you just got to tell yourself, okay, you don't yell down when the fighter gets knocked down, and you got to remember there's kicks, but don't kick when his hand is down. You know, so you got to separate the two. But I ended up stopping it in the second round because the guy wasn't answering back from the headshots in the MMA fight. So. I mean, I love both sports. Boxing is my first love, though, you know, but I took John McCarthy's class, and he's a great guy. He vouched for me, and, you know, I did some camo for the camo amateur.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, they're both great sports, man.
Yeah, there's fans and everything. So, you know, we asked you before the show, Ray, you know, if you keep up with the sport, you know, I know there's a lot of fighters out there. There's always a lot of cards, especially now that all these networks like Fox, DAZN, ESPN, you know, boxing's picked up everywhere. So it's a little bit more difficult to keep up with everything, but the sport's on a bigger platform. So
you need 2 or 3 TVs. You need the apps.
So,
exactly.
But it keeps us all busy, right? Especially you guys, Leo. I mean, you said the state of California already gets the most fights in the world.
Yes.
I'm sure you guys are getting. I don't know if it is true or not, but you guys are probably getting a lot more fights in the next, you know, last year or so with all these networks and contracts that are popping up. So, because they want the fights, they want to put them on network television.
Yeah.
Did you ever? Because I know Devin Haney, he fought out here a couple times. Did you ever do any of his fights?
No, not. I'm bad with names. I'm good with faces, so no. That doesn't ring a bell.
Because he fought in Pachanga a couple times, right?
No.
He's what weight does he fight on? Lightweight, 135. So he just improved to 22-0, and over there at the MGM National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland, on the Zone.
Okay.
I know we talked about the Zone before you came on. You're just like, I don't know about this streaming stuff. I'm still trying to get used to it, you know, like. But you know, that's they're a player in the game now. You know,
I mean, at my age, I'm close to the jitterbug phone, so you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a throwback right to the jitterbug phone. Yeah, but yeah, Devin Haney got the win and stayed undefeated with the 7th round KO over Antonio Moran, and this was for the WBC International and WBO Intercontinental Lightweight titles. This was Haney's first fight on DAZN, right, Mike?
Yeah, I believe first or second fight on DAZN.
And when was that fight?
This was on Saturday. This past Saturday, 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to pay attention to those weights as well, because my son is 130 pounds.
Oh, so he's right there. Yeah, this kid's 135.
And he's only 18, so he'll be moving up eventually when Ben says, you know.
135, 140.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're I mean, you know who Ryan Garcia is, right?
Yes.
Golden Boys fighter. They're
Great kid.
They're him and Devin Haney are like have been kind of going back and forth. on social media. And then
Devin Haney's from Vegas, no?
Yeah.
he's from
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah, all right. Now I know.
Yeah. Now it rings a bell.
Now it rings a
We had
bell.
to keep going. We had to keep
No,
going.
you know what? He fought at Pachanga. There you go. I'm sorry.
Temecula.
Under his own promotions, wasn't
Yes.
it? Haney Promotions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
seen that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the youngest promoter. I think he is right now.
Of all time, yeah.
Of all time. So, which is insane. But him and Ryan Garcia, you know, they got the personalities and they're trying to build it. And especially after his win right here, there was a picture release where they kind of did a face off.
Yeah, I seen that.
So, you know, it's to build up the fight like anything, you know, high profile fights. So we'll see how that goes later down the line. But Haney landed 99 of his 324 shots for a 31% connect. And then Moran connected on 34 of 338 for 10%. So, well, you know, it was kind of overmatched.
More of a showcase for Haney.
Yeah.
Good finish, but Eddie Hearn said that Haney will face Zaro Abdulelov, is it?
Oh, shit. I'm not even going to try it. You're going to try that.
For a final WBC eliminator that probably come in August, Haney will be ready to fight the winner of Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, which will also be taking place in August over in the UK.
Yeah. And speaking of Lomachenko, because a lot of people have him. I mean, it's been changing a lot the last several months, but a lot of people have him as like the best fighter in the world, pound for pound.
My opinion, he's a good fighter. He's a great fighter. And there's a lot of great fighters, you know.
Right.
But to just nail him down as the best fighter in the world, I don't know, you know.
Do you think Mayweather was the last one to really have a claim to that throne?
Well,
Because like the last couple of years, it's been very
yeah.
up and down. Like there hasn't really been somebody who's kind of really taken the throne. It kind of just moves up.
I think it's hard because Floyd had the style, but he also had the resume. Whereas someone like Canelo, to me, has the body of work. He has the resume. Lomachenko has the style, but at the minute, it's only what, like 10 fights, 15 fights?
13, 14, something?
Yeah,
It's
see, he
just
has a
around
low
that.
amount because obviously he spends so much time in the amateurs.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, he does have names like Gary Russell Jr. on there, you know, Jorge Linares.
Well, in my opinion, we shouldn't call a guy the best fighter in the world until he's done with his career. Where did he go with it? You know, how did he finish? You know, like they say, as much as referees are only known for their last fight, same as a fighter, it can change all in one fight. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Triple G was the man for a while. Now, he lost.
Yeah, now no one talks about him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
in that light.
true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what, though? I was reading a piece within the last couple of weeks about Triple G, touching on that really quick and saying, like, he was the monster at middleweight for, 2011 to, like, 2015, 16, or what have you. He was just running through everybody, which is, made his profile go up, his stardom go up. He got bigger paydays, bigger fights. But, during that time, did he fight anybody, like, on the level of, like, a Canelo or a Jacobs and stuff like that? So when he actually had to step up his game, it's like, okay, well, now you're fighting elite guys. You're an elite guy too, but you ran through all these guys beforehand because they weren't on your level.
Ready-made.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, it just shows you that his level. I mean, there's levels in boxing, obviously.
Yes.
So there's obviously going to be one fighter who's levels above another fighter. Like, for example, Canelo and Rocky Fielding in December of last year at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fielding was 6'3" and had the height advantage, and Canelo moved up to 168. People were like, oh, well, I don't know, the height and the size might make a difference. And look what Canelo did. He got him out there, 2 rounds? 2-3 rounds?
Yeah, I mean, Rocky Fielding looked like a rabbit in the headlights, didn't he?
No, you're right.
He got in there, he looked all scared straight away.
But it just shows you the level of, like, you know, Canelo as opposed to that in terms of, like, as an analogy. So, it happens. It happens. And then quickly on that card, a female fight, Jessica McCaskill and, what is it? How do you pronounce his name, Mike? Help me.
Probably best off asking Ray.
What's
Esther. We're just going to go to Esther. That's her middle name. Esther Sanchez, who's 19-4. This is going to be for WBA and WBC super lightweight world title. Oh, this is a world title fight? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So Jessica McCaskill got the W, right? With scores of 99-91, 96-94, and 98-92 in a 10-round unanimous decision.
Good fight.
So she now holds the WBA and WBC super. She's a unified champion.
Yeah, good fight. One of the better female fights I've seen. I thought the scorecards could have been a little bit closer. one of those questions that we asked Ray, how did people judge it? Because everyone on Twitter was saying the same thing. A lot of people had scored it a draw. It was really close, back and forth.
Well, if I can give my opinion again on that, on the judging, if you really want to see how a judge watches a fight, is next time, before the show even starts, tell yourself, I'm going to turn off the volume.
Watch it on mute.
Watch it on mute.
Yeah.
And then judge it like that. And do not change your scorecards at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But watch it on mute. Do not watch it and then try to watch it on mute the second time. Watch it on mute, score the rounds, and sometimes you look back and say, like, wow, that fighter did win, or he did lose.
And I'm sure it's easier, with having the TV, because as a judge, you have one view.
That's right.
And you think the punches are connecting maybe, but then when you've got the you're at home and you're watching it on TV, you can see those punches were actually hitting the gloves.
Yep.
Stuff like
or
that.
Replays influence. Replay, the commentary influences you. So watch it on mute. It's a little different, but watch it on mute, and then you'll sit back and, some of us won't be so hard on the judges. You know what I mean?
You mentioned watch it on mute and then don't change your scorecard at the end.
That's right.
Well, whatever you get that's your scorecard.
That's your score.
So what did you think about Adelaide Bird's scorecard at the Canelo Triple G, the first one, right? The first fight?
Yeah, no comment, guys. Adelaide Bird, she's an awesome person.
As soon as you mentioned that, I was like, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
Should I get him in trouble, Danny?
Yeah. Her husband will beat me up when he sees me. But no, I got respect for
She's married to
man.
Robert Bird.
Yes, Robert Bird.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that at first. Yeah,
that's her husband.
I didn't know they were married. So, but yeah, moving on. Heavyweight Michael Hunter, 17-1, gets the second round TKO over Fabio Maldonado for the WBA International Heavyweight title. Did you catch that fight, Mike?
Yeah, good fight. You could see early on, Michael Hunter, even though he was the smaller guy, he was just too quick. Good combinations, backed Fabio up and just really got him out of there. Good fight. I mean, as an amateur, he was fighting against all the heavyweights. Your Tyson Furies and stuff like that. I spoke to Hazeem Rahman when we came to Fantasy Springs, and I spoke to him because he trains Michael, and he was saying, that he moved up from cruiserweight to heavyweight just, for that reason, because he's used to fighting the bigger guys.
So he was used to it. He's like, I'm going up.
So, he won the fight and said he's willing to, he wants to fight AJ and people like that, and if they're not willing to fight him, he's going to hopefully fight Dylan White if he beats Oscar Rivas on July the 20th at the O2 Arena in London. Says he's, got to try and force his way, make himself a mandatory.
Yeah.
And eventually, try and pick up a title that way.
I could see that. Honestly, I'm expecting Wilder to fight White in the next couple months.
That'd be a good fight.
Yeah, I would.
I'm expecting
I've
that.
seen White fight a few times.
Yeah.
He's not scared, Dylan White.
Yeah.
He'll fight anybody.
He's trying to look for that marquee heavyweight fight, and he's been chasing, Joshua, Wilder, and it's just, we'll see. But what did you think about, touching on the heavyweight division right now, because the Klitschko's reigned for over 10 years. So a lot of people hated on them because they were so dominant. But does that speak on just their talent, or maybe the talent, the level of opposition they had? Because now, obviously, in the last couple of years, the heavyweight division is a lot more intriguing with the Joshuas, and all that stuff, and the Wilders and the Furies.
The fight coming up this Saturday, Ruiz and
Anthony Joshua.
Yeah,
right.
it's gonna be a good
so,
fight.
what'd you think about comparing those two eras like that?
Well, I mean, you look at how do they call them now? The haters. they want to pick the fighter all the time, but like they say, I'll fight their mom if they pay me, Yeah. And let's be honest, guys. A lot of these guys, you're gonna pay me to fight that person or that person, and I'm not gonna fight that person if you don't pay me, So with that said, in my opinion, they fought whoever they were matched with, as boxing fans, we want our certain people that we favor or we like, and I'm talking as a fan now,
right?
And I'm going to record the Ruiz fight and the Joshua. I'm really looking forward to that, but I'll be working this Saturday. But I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. Whoever wins, God's luck to either one of them,
So yeah, and then just jumping right into it, since we're already talking about it. Like you mentioned, Andy Ruiz is facing Anthony Joshua at Madison Square Garden this Saturday in New York City on DAZN. And obviously we know that Ruiz wasn't the initial penciled-in opponent.
Yeah.
It was Jarrell Big Baby Miller. They had this kickoff press conference in New York, and Miller talking all this smack, building up the fight, which is great, because people are interested. It makes the fight more intriguing. People are like, oh, I kind of want to watch this,
No, they were selling it good.
It was. They were doing pretty well, Even if people thought like, oh, Joshua might run through this guy, like Miller's never faced anybody like a Joshua and stuff like that. But it's just like Broner. Like Broner when he fought Pacquiao, that obviously wasn't. That was on purpose to put those both together. And Broner has a personality to sell it.
Yes.
Obviously, the result of the fight wasn't what at people's levels of expectation. But I think a lot of people knew that. Well, Broner's in terms of fight, his mouth is a bigger fight than he is in the ring. So, but yeah, then Andy Ruiz gets the spot and jumps in there. And I don't know if you knew this, but the day that Jarrell Big Baby Miller got popped for the first test that he failed,
the first one, huh?
Andy Ruiz was already scheduled to be on our show that day.
Oh, okay.
So within an hour of that news breaking, literally within an hour of that news breaking, he came on our show and said he wanted the Joshua fight. So we were the first outlet for him to say that he wanted the Joshua fight. And he even said, right before I came on your guys' show, I messaged Eddie Hearn saying, hey, I want his spot. And look at where he lands. He got it.
All thanks to us, Ray.
All thanks to us. But you mentioned before the show that you've reffed an Andy Ruiz fight.
Yeah, I did his last fight. His last fight at that StubHub.
Dimitrenko?
Dignity Sports. It's the StubHub to me. But so in terms of looking at it from that aspect, from a professional refereeing aspect, especially that you refereed his last fight, what do you think about how he might perform? Because he's very motivated.
Yes,
he's extremely motivated.
He's very hungry,
and he's already been in camp. He fought that like late April, so like he hasn't really. It's not like he really has to get back in the rhythm because he's already in the rhythm.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
In my opinion, he's got everything to gain and everything to lose, because if he wins, he'll be the first Mexican heavyweight.
That's huge.
And if he loses and looks bad, well, they'll just say, he couldn't do it. How the negatives are,
Yeah.
But let's just say he goes 12 rounds, he'll still be in the game. If it goes to decision, he still go to the game. But
that's an accomplishment in and of itself.
in itself, because of his size, his looks. His looks are very deceiving, But being in the ring with them and watching him fight and being right there, the kid's got fast hands, man. Fast hands.
And for his size, too, that's what a lot of people are so surprised about it. Like, he's got extreme, speed for his size.
And he throws good combinations.
Yes. He's not a one-punch fighter. He'll go to the body, go to the head, and he'll put three together. Very seldom does he just, unless he's throwing a jab, he always puts combinations together. And in my opinion, if Joshua doesn't bring his jab as the bigger guy, Ruiz has a chance, man. That's coming from a fan point of view,
Right.
Like you touched on, I think Joshua's going to need his jab because of the reach.
Well, what's Joshua's height?
He's 6'6", and Andy is 6'2". So
he better fight tall, huh?
Well, that's why. But I mean, it'd be, and I'm sure. Sorry to cut you off, Mike, but I'm sure that when Joshua fought Povetkin within the last couple of years, even though Joshua stopped Povetkin at one point was giving him some major problems.
He was probably up on the cards at the time.
I remember that fight.
At the time that Povetkin got stopped, like you said, he was probably up on the cards. And him and Ruiz are probably around the same height.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you think as a boxer, especially studying tape on your opponent, you kind of would watch that Povetkin fight. Look, Povetkin's a shorter man, because obviously if you're fighting taller guys, that's one thing you're going to have to try to adapt to. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to go up, or they get the reach advantage. So, what do you think about that in terms of Joshua being the taller fighter, and then Ruiz kind of have to?
Well, I mean, what's that old saying? To just chop down the tree.
Body work.
Andy's just going to go to the body, man, hard. I mean, he'll throw a combination, but when it goes to the body, he's vicious. This is in the last fight that he did at the StubHub. That's what he was doing. He was going to the body. And that's why he couldn't use his jab. in my opinion, because when he was hitting that kid to the body, the grunts, and this is where, as a referee, not even ringside guys hear what we hear. You know, when Andy was going to the body, this big guy was just like, ugh, ugh. And you could see he's breaking him down. You know, he's breaking him down. So I mean, there's no secret. Joshua knows what Andy's coming with, and I'm sure Andy knows what he's coming with. You know, but he's hungry. I
think it's going to be a closer fight than people are saying. Yeah. You know, I think some people, like Ray touched on, look at Andy Ruiz and they're kind of like, this chubby kid's not going to do anything. Yeah. But I think the fact that he's gone from, one fight against Dimachenko straight into another camp, he's not
against the biggest heavyweight essentially in the world.
Yeah, I think it's going to do him well because he's not like a last-minute replacement that's had 2 weeks. He's just got off the couch, stuff like that. So I think it's going to be a good fight.
He's definitely taking his Snicker bar with him.
Yeah.
Hey, he was trying to get that sponsorship, man. As soon as he got that fight, he was throwing it out there. He was like promoting it, and he was trying to get their attention. And I was like, I kind of hope he does. That would have been a big sponsorship for him.
He wins on Saturday. He'll get all the sponsors.
That's right. That's right.
He'll go down as a legend in the Mexican community for being the first ever heavyweight.
Yeah, there's never been a Mexican or even a Mexican American in general, just from Mexican heritage, heavyweight champion of the world. The last person to try to do it was Chris Arreola.
Yeah. Great guy. Chris is good people, man.
No, yeah, the nightmare, man. Yeah, he tried it against Klitschko, I think 2009. Yeah. And unfortunately he came up short. But then he got another world title shot a couple years ago, and he came up short again. But I remember there was a lot of people, rooting for him because that'd be a big moment. Because I mean, obviously we know, especially in Southern California,
we just don't grow that big. Mexican guys don't grow that big.
Don't. Well,
Danny's at 6'7".
That's why when I seen him right now, I go, why ain't this guy fighting?
I know I should be, right?
Yeah,
I should be. Yeah, no, I guess
he's probably a wrestler though, huh? The wrestlers, tend to get into the meat mascara and stuff.
The meat mascara, the TJ, and all that stuff. But no, yeah, like you said, it's a very intriguing matchup, and I do like how Mike said it, that he is coming off an actual camp already. So there'd be a difference if he was already like on a long layoff, or he was already hadn't had a fight in like 5, 6 months, 4 months, like 10 months or something like that. But he's literally he just had a fight on network television on Fox within like the last month and a half, essentially 2 months or something like that. He's already
he's on a roll. He's on a roll.
So yeah, I think like we said, like, there's a lot of people maybe overlooking him because of his size. He doesn't really have the look in terms of, like it's just like anything in entertainment or sports. There's people who have an image, especially in boxing. Like, you want to be able to have the talent to back it up. But if you have the image to be able to be marketable, like look at Joshua. He's a 6'6" guy. Yeah. He's
an Adonis of a man.
Yeah. He's a 6'6" guy.
Wife says I kind of resemble him in the
bar. We're gonna start calling you AJ now.
That's right.
AJ. Yeah.
Like my son says, as long as you believe it, Dad, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. It matters because I believe it.
That's right.
But
no, but that's gonna be a great fight. I'm gonna definitely look at it after my fight.
How big do you think that would be if Andy wins? Like, what kind of moment? Not just because of the upset over
Mexico,
AJ, but just I'm talking about Mexico standpoint.
Oh my God, though, he'll just be
he'd be an overnight sensation.
Yeah, he would.
A national holiday in Mexico.
Yeah,
June the 1st.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, I think they would. Like, honestly, like, he'd probably be invited to the country of Mexico.
Yeah.
But like, that's
he's just down the street too from where he grew up.
Yeah,
from the border.
Yeah, so he's not too far, but like he's motivated, man.
Oh yeah,
he's very motivated, and I'm glad that he got it. Out of all the people they were talking about after Miller, I know people wanted to see Ortiz and stuff. I had Luis Ortiz, and then there was reports that he turned down a career high payday and all this stuff. But we had talked about it before and said, like, look, like, I kind of hope he gets it because he just fought. He's in the rhythm already. All these other guys really haven't fought. And yeah, Ortiz might be, in terms of profile and name and talent overall, at least from people I've seen, probably would have been the biggest test.
In my opinion, guys, I think the reason this fight with Joshua and Andy is going to be a good fight because Andy's the underdog. Even just because he's, again, his looks are deceiving. There's no way he's going to, do this and from what I've seen boxing, from what I know in boxing, my opinion is he's bringing it. He's bringing it. You know, whether he wins or not, we'll soon find out. But he's gonna bring it. You know.
Absolutely. But you know, wrapping up here, Ray, we appreciate you coming down in studio
you guys for having me
and being on the show, and you know, giving us a glimpse into your life as a boxing referee, and then even the story you had before. Like you mentioned, you know, you came up from a rough upbringing, and you mentioned, you know, if there's people out there who might be listening, who might be, you know, in the same spot that maybe you were, or maybe they just connect in some way. Like you said, if you're gonna stay in it, stay in it.
Stay in it.
If you're not, find a way.
Move on, man. Move on. What do you want in life, you know?
Exactly. But, you know, coming from you as a success story, you're in there with some of the biggest names in the sport of boxing at the Staples Center, the Forum.
I'm blessed, bro.
So, you know, there it is. But, you know, before we wrap up here, Ray, go ahead and you know, promote. You know, your son is a professional boxer.
Yeah.
Throw his name out there, whatever he's got coming up. Anything you got. We know you're doing the cards this weekend in Temecula, California, the Devin Alexander card. So if anybody out there in Southern California is going to be at those fights and you see Ray, when he's not working, you know, give him a shout out.
Yeah.
But go ahead and you know, promote your son and throw anything out there that you want.
I just want to say if you could, you know, follow my son, Adrian Corona. His Instagram is too cold Corona, one word.
Corona, all right.
Yeah, and he's 5-0 right now, and Ben Lira has Luis Feliciano, 140 pounder, great kid. The Teamsters are really promoting these guys, and I appreciate the Teamsters. I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. I really do. Thank you.
Awesome. Mike, want to close it with the podcast where to find us?
At The Last Round 12 on Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back next week, and happy Memorial Day for everybody.
Yes. Thank you to our servicemen, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of your sons is in the service, right?
Yes, right now. Anthony Corona is stationed in Hawaii. He's got it rough right now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll listen to us because his pops is on here. So shout out to the servicemen all around the world, especially Hawaii.
That's
you know,
right.
It'd be nice to be in Hawaii right now, you know. But you know, find us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Audio Boom, all the major platforms. Your favorite podcasting platforms, you know, we're on there. So once again, thanks a lot to Ray Corona, professional boxing referee for the California State Athletic Commission, for coming in studio today and talking some boxing and his job and his life. And then for my co-host, Michael Shepard, this is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.